What would you do if your own child turned your special day into a night of humiliation, only to find himself facing a mirror of his own actions just days later? It was my 45th birthday, a milestone I'd been quietly dreading. Not because of the numberage is just a tally, but because life had worn me thin. I'm a single mom, raising Ethan, my 17-year-old son, in a modest house that's seen better days. Ethan's a good kid, or so I thought, with a sharp wit and a smile that could charm anyone. But lately, he'd been distant, caught up in his world of friends and late-night gaming. I didn't mind too much. Boys his age need space. Still, I hoped my birthday might bring us closer, even for a night. I was wrong. The day started with promise. I woke to the smell of coffee and a handwritten note from Ethan. "Happy birthday, Mom. Big surprise tonight." My heart swelled. I spent the day at work, humming, imagining a quiet dinner or maybe a cake he'd baked himself, lopsided but made with love. By evening, I was buzzing with anticipation. I drove home, picturing Ethan waiting with that grin of his. Instead, I walked into chaos. The living room was a war zone. Empty pizza boxes, soda cans, and chip bags littered every surface. The air reeked of stale beer and teenage sweat. Ethan's friends, 6 or 7 of them, sprawled across my couch, laughing over some crude joke. Music blared, shaking the walls. Ethan stood in the center, holding a red cup, his eyes glassy. "Mom," he slurred, barely looking up. "You're home early." "Ethan, what is this?" I asked, my voice trembling. The clock read 9 p.m. My birthday dinner was nowhere in sight. "Relax, it's just a party," he said, waving me off. "Join us." I stood frozen, the weight of the day crashing down. "This is my birthday, Ethan," I whispered, but he didn't hear me over the music. One of his friends, a lanky kid with a smirk, handed me a trash bag. "Yo, Mrs. Carter, you gonna clean up or what?" The group erupted in laughter. Ethan didn't stop them. He just shrugged, as if I were the hired help. Humiliation burned my cheeks, but I didn't want to ruin his night. So I started cleaning. I picked up cans, wiped spills, and scrubbed sticky floors while the party raged on. Hours passed. My back ached, my hands raw from bleach. By 3 a.m., the house was silent, the kids gone, and Ethan passed out on the couch. I sat on the kitchen floor, alone, my birthday reduced to a pile of trash bags. I cried, not for the mess, but for the boy I thought I knew. The next morning, Ethan stumbled downstairs, hungover and sheepish. "Sorry about last night, Mom," he mumbled, avoiding my eyes. "I'll clean up later, okay?" I nodded, too tired to argue. I wanted to believe he'd make it right. But later never came. For 2 days, he dodged chores, ignored my hurt, and acted like nothing happened. I was furious, but more than that, I was heartbroken. Had I failed him as a mother? Then came the first twist. On the second day, I found a crumpled note in Ethan's jacket pocket while doing laundry. It wasn't in his handwriting. "Meet me at the old warehouse. 8 p.m. Bring the stuff." My stomach dropped. What stuff? Was Ethan in trouble? I confronted him that evening, holding the note like evidence. His face paled. "It's nothing, Mom. Just a joke." But his voice cracked, and I knew he was lying. I didn't push not yet. I needed answers, but I also needed him to trust me. The second twist came the next morning, when Mrs. Delaney, our elderly neighbor, knocked on our door. She was a quiet woman, always tending her garden, but today her eyes were red. "Sarah," she said, gripping my hand. "I saw Ethan with those boys at the warehouse last night. They're up to no good." She told me about rumors, vandalism, petty theft, kids selling things they shouldn't. My heart sank. Ethan wasn't just rebelling. He was slipping into something dangerous. That night, I followed him. The warehouse was a crumbling relic on the edge of town, its windows boarded up. I hid in the shadows, watching Ethan and his friends. They were laughing, passing around a bag of what looked like stolen electronics. My son, my boy, was part of this. I wanted to scream, to drag him home, but I waited. Then I saw a Hera girl, maybe 16, with tired eyes and a nervous fidget. She approached Ethan, whispering something. He shook his head, his face hardening. She grabbed his arm, pleading, but he pushed her away. She ran off, crying. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I stepped out, my voice cutting through the night. "Ethan James Carter, what are you doing?" His friends scattered, but Ethan froze, his face a mix of shame and defiance. I didn't care about the others. I grabbed his arm and pulled him home. The drive was silent, but the air was thick with unspoken words. At home, I sat him down. "Talk," I said. And he did. It poured out pressure from his friends, a need to fit in, small thefts that snowballed into something bigger. The girl, Lily, was trying to get out, but Ethan felt trapped. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he sobbed. "I just wanted to be someone." My anger melted into something heavier, grief for the boy who felt he had to prove himself this way. But I wasn't going to let him off easy. "You made choices," I said. "And choices have consequences." I thought of my birthday, the humiliation, the betrayal. I thought of Lily, running into the night. I thought of Mrs. Delaney, who cared enough to speak up. And I knew what had to happen. 3 days after my birthday, Ethan stood in our bathroom, scrubbing toilets. It wasn't punishment for the sake of cruelty. It was a lesson in accountability. I made him clean every inch of the house floors, sinks, windows until it gleamed. He grumbled at first, but I saw the shift in his eyes, the slow understanding of what it means to make things right. I didn't stop there. I called Lily's parents, learned she was struggling too, and arranged for Ethan to apologize in person. It was awkward, tearful, but necessary. That night, Ethan sat across from me at the kitchen table. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, his voice steady for the first time in days. "Not just for the party, but for everything. I let you down." I reached for his hand, my heart aching but full. "You're not perfect, Ethan. Neither am I. But we fix what we break." The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Ethan had to face consequences, community service, restitution for the stolen goods. But he was trying. He mowed Mrs. Delaney's lawn the next week, unprompted. He started checking in with Lily, making sure she was okay. And me? I learned that love sometimes means letting your child fall, but standing close enough to help them up. Life doesn't tie up neatly, but it teaches us in layers. My birthday was a mess, but it uncovered truths I might never have faced. Ethan's scrubbing toilets wasn't just about cleaning. It was about rebuilding trust, starting with himself. And in that, I found hope not just for him, but for us. Yindi.